What is up, humans of the cardboard? Welcome back to Just Nuts, guys. Today I have a very important discussion video to get into. Today we're looking at, of course, the new big bad boss monster on the block. He's new to the block. He's scary. He's going to change things. It's Destiny Hero Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. This card is insane. We all know that, but the question here is, we've already got a generically splashable fusion monster in Red Eye's Dark Dragoon. So we're going to be comparing and contrasting them today, talking about what makes one better in certain ways, what makes the other one better in certain ways, and kind of where I think they'll end up moving into the next format, you know, because there's definitely going to be some push and pull here. You can't really afford to play both in the same deck. So like you got to figure out which one's going to be better for you and what you want to accomplish. So I think there's a couple of different facets we need to look at when we're comparing and contrasting these. It's not just the cards themselves. We can also compare their fusion cards, because there are some very key differences there. And there's also some key differences to the materials they take. So we'll also be looking at that stuff as well. So there's definitely a lot going on here, but we might as well start off with Dragoon. We know him, we love him. Well, we love him or we love to hate him, I guess could work there. But let's start off with him. Obviously, we know most of what he does. He takes a Dark Magician plus a Red Eyes Black Dragon or a Dragon Effect monster. He cannot be destroyed by card effects. He cannot be targeted by card effects during the main phase, up to twice per turn, because you're usually using 2 vanilla monsters to make him. You can non-targeting destroy one monster your opponent controls, and if you do, you inflict damage to their life points equal to the original attack. It's pretty good. And then second effect is the main one. Once per turn, when a card or effect is activated, you can discard a card, negate the activation if you do destroy it, and if you destroy it, you gain 1,000 attack points permanently on your Dragoon. So very hard card out, very oppressive. We know this about Dragoon. Just want to give a quick overview. Now let's look at the new guy, Destroyer Phoenix Enforcer. He is a level 6 or higher hero monster. He takes a level 6 or higher hero monster plus any Destiny hero monster. His first effect reads continuous. Monsters your opponent controls lose 200 attack for every hero card in your graveyard. So just even if you're just splashing this engine, he's already lowering everything by 400. I think that's pretty balanced. I think that if they had made this 300 attack, that would have put this card a little bit over, a little bit up a little level, just because, in my opinion, just like there's a lot of 3,000 attack point monsters, right? That's a very common level, or like, I don't know, attack cap in the game, right? If somebody makes a Dragoon, if they haven't negated anything, it's 3,000. But this card just has a continuous effect that if it was 300, it would have made that card 24, and this card now walks over it. And so I think it's pretty balanced that if you're just splashing this in, it's not walking over 3,000 attack monsters. I kind of like that, a little bit of balance there. Anyway, his main effect, or one of his 2 main effects, is the first effect here, Quick Effect. You can destroy both one card you control and one card on the field. That's it. Just Quick Effect, destroy one card you control and one on the field. By the way, this is, of course, a quick effect, but also does not target. And while it does destroy, it's not targeting. So you can switch what you want to select to destroy on resolution, depending on the situation. If your opponent's trying to chain things to remove back row so they don't lose certain back row or whatever, or monsters, you can kind of still punish them for it. That's very strong. I know what you're like, John, but I don't want to destroy my own stuff. He wants to destroy himself. It's not a problem, guys. If this card is destroyed by battle or card effect, you can activate this effect. Special summon one Destiny hero monster from your graveyard during the standby phase of the next turn. Guys, it can do it to himself. If he's destroyed by battle or card effect, including his own effect, that's a disruption, so it helps him dodge things on the opponent's turn. On the next standby phase, he just comes back. Very crazy. Also, it's not just your next standby phase, it's the next standby phase, so you can summon in your turn, pop him in something on your opponent's field, then on your opponent's standby he already comes back, and then he can do it again, and then he can do it again, and then he can do it again. That's what really gives this card the ability to press versus Dragoon. Is while I do think the Omni Negate for Dragoon is probably overall more powerful of a disruption, it covers more bases, right? Whereas Destroy Phoenix Enforcer like doesn't negate stuff. He's easier to bait out than Dragoon, because Dragoon can just negate whatever the first, you know, out would be, making it really hard to find another out. He does have that longevity that if you can't clear him without destroying him, and that's the other thing too, he doesn't just float if he destroys himself by a hero effect or by his own effect. If he's destroyed, period. So you have to clear him without destroying him, or he is coming back again on the next standby phase. And he's just too much. He's going to overwhelm you if you can't get him out of rotation. It's a huge problem. It's going to be tough, but I do think this is where I kind of stand on them as individual monsters. I do think Dragoon is still a little bit more oppressive just because he covers more bases with his negate, and his protection effects are like insane. Outside of cards like Dark Ruler No More and Forbidden Droplet, it is very hard to, there's not a lot of generic cards that out it, so you have to be playing a deck with like an in archetype out to him that's easy to get to, and able to bait him at the same time. I think it's just too tough. Whereas Phoenix Enforcer, he kind of just like loses to called, right? Like all you have to do is like bait him once, and yes, you have to eat his first interruption to pop something. But if you have called by the grave, you kind of just take him out of rotation, and he's probably just done for the duel. You don't have to worry about him anymore for the rest of the duel, and that's okay. Called's still a 1-of, so that's not the best example, but maybe we see some uptick in cards like DD Crow, at least in the side deck. Once you know you're playing against a D hero deck or a deck that's splashing him, once he ends up in grave, DD Crow him before he tries to come back, and you don't have to worry about him for the rest of the duel. Not the best way to neutralize him, but it does take care of him, so you don't have to worry about him anymore. So kind of some interesting things there. So yeah, that's where I end up there. I just think Dragoon is probably still a little bit more oppressive, just raw. Once it's on the field, like boom, he's probably more oppressive than Phoenix Enforcer. But I do think Phoenix Enforcer has his own unique challenges, and I do think that's going to create a dichotomy in the TCG, in the meta game, where you're going to see people that have cards that handle Forcer but don't necessarily handle Dragoon as well, and vice versa, right? Like, what is Called by the Grave doing to Dragoon? Like, literally nothing. But Called by the Grave is actually a pretty decent answer to Phoenix Enforcer, right? So there's like weird things like that. Again, DD Crow, right? A response to Phoenix Enforcer doesn't do fucking nothing versus Dragoon. So we'll see some weird things like that, but I do think overall Dragoon is more oppressive, but this guy just allows for more of a long game, especially since Dragoon has to discard to do its effect, where he can just pop himself to do his effect. All right, so next up we need to look at the fusion cards. Of course, Red Eyes Fusion, we know it, we love it. Fusion, summon one fusion monster that lists Red Eyes monster as material from your extra deck, using monsters from your hand, deck, or field as fusion material, and if you do, its name becomes Red Eyes Black Dragon. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this card, and you can only activate one Red Eyes Fusion per turn. So one thing that's interesting here that we really need to focus on is this line right here. You cannot normal or special summon other monsters the turn you activate this card. Not for the rest of the turn, the entire turn, which means if you summon before activating this card, you cannot even activate it. And if you activate it, you cannot summon afterwards. So it does lock you out of a lot, although it does still get you a 1-card insane boss monster. You need to be selective, and you might be locking yourself out of a couple of extra cards in your hand that you might have been able to do something with otherwise. So that's definitely interesting about Red Eyes Fusion. I wouldn't say it's a full-on brick, because I've lost to combo decks that draw this card and go, do I go for my combo or do I just activate Red Eyes Fusion? Let's activate Red Eyes Fusion. Bloop. And then I lost to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon anyway. So like, it's not a full-on brick, but it's also not an extender in any way, shape, or form, which brings us to Fusion Destiny. And I think this is a really strong point why you might want to consider Fusion Destiny or the Destiny Hero package, because this card allows you to fusion summon a fusion monster from your extra deck that lists a Destiny Hero monster as fusion material, using monsters from your hand or deck as fusion material, but destroy it during the end phase of the next turn. Also, for the rest of this turn, after this card resolves, you cannot special summon monsters except Dark Hero monsters. Now, big, huge thing that we just looked at here. Let's see, also for the rest of the turn after this card resolves. That's huge. That means as long as you do everything you want to before this, this only locks you once you resolve it. That is so huge. That makes this a legitimate bomb extender, not just decent extender. This is a bomb card in the deck now, right? This card is just a 1-card Phoenix Enforcer, and you can do it after you've baited a bunch of hand traps, played through everything, and maybe you already went full combo, but you also just want to add a Phoenix Enforcer on top of it. Why not? It's insane. So I do think this is the strongest reason to consider the Destiny Hero package over the Dragoon package, is because whereas the Dragoon package plays like the 2 bricks plus like a pseudo brick, but it's like it could, like, it's okay to draw Red Eyes Fusion sometimes. This deck legit has the 2 bricks, but then 3 like bomb extender slash like starter cards. It's so much better to play this package. The main deck portion of this package is so much better than having to play the Dragoon package. I think that's a really strong argument for it. Most people are playing 3 of this card because they want to draw it. They don't really want to Verte into Enforcer, but they can if they want to, and they still should probably be playing it, because why not? You want to have access to that play should you need it. But the Red Eyes package, they just play 1 of this. You never want to draw it. You just want to be sending it off of Verte. Which is very, very huge. So I think this is like a huge check mark in the Destiny Hero side, as opposed to the just barely nudged out Dragoon side for, I would just say, rawly comparing the fusions 1-to-1 as far as what they do. Which takes us to our next facet here. Of course, the bricks. Your fusion materials. You got to play these cards in the main deck. You never want to draw them. You got to be sending them. So, of course, for the Red Eyes side, we've got our 1 copy of Dark Magician and 1 copy of Red Eyes Black Dragon. They're vanillas. I mean, like, I don't know what to tell you. They don't do anything. They're maybe discard fodder, but sometimes you don't even want to discard them, because if you discard them, that means you can't resolve a Verte to fuse with them off. You can't even resolve Red Eyes Fusion to fuse them off if you send them to grave. So you like it's like a brick that you don't even want to use as discard fodder, which is kind of annoying, but it is what it is. It's the nature of the beast. So yeah, I mean, they just don't do anything, which takes us to the other side, where we actually have some cards that do things even after you fusion. Now listen, if you're playing a hero build, and I don't want to focus on the hero build for this situation, because this is more focusing on the splash ability. This engine is like so crazy in heroes and like an actual hero build, because you're usually sending like malicious plus denier, I believe, because it gets you like more, like it means 1 fusion destiny, I think, without normal summoning gets you like enforcer plus 2 link materials, or is it 3 link materials? You are locked into dark heroes, but without normal summoning, it's an enforcer plus 3 link materials. This card is insane. You also don't have to play any bricks, because Destiny's not a brick itself. And of course, you know, malicious is like sort of a brick, but you have so many ways to get him out of the hand in that deck. So it's like not really a brick. I guess denier is like a sort of brick, but again, easy to get him out of the hand. Once you get him in grave with the malicious, it's easy to kind of snowball that into a ton of bodies on field. So it's even crazier there, but I don't want to really focus on that. I want to focus on what these cards do generically when they're splashed into a deck. The first part of this card's effect doesn't really do much. If this card declares an attack, you can target a face-up spell your opponent controls, destroy it, and inflict 500 to your opponent. I guess that could come up if like you're in a really tight spot and you have to out like a floodgate. Normal summon this card, attack just to pop the floodgate and burn your opponent. I guess it could come up, whatever. The real effect that really matters here is this. While you have no cards in your hand, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card, and a Destiny Hero monsters from your graveyard is cost to draw 2 cards. That effect, by the way, is not that hard to set up. You have to just consider if you're resolving Verte or Fusion Destiny, this guy's already going to be in grave with another hero. Not a problem. So you're already going to have him and another hero, Destiny hero. So that's not a problem. All you then have to do is get to another turn with no cards in your hand. Set your spells and traps, get your monsters out of your hand, activate your hand traps a little, maybe even a little haphazardly, because you know you have a fail safe, even if that happens where I'm drawing 2 anyway. I don't care. That is insane. That also you have draw 2 potential later on in the duel. The grindability of this engine is like so crazy. And the last card here is Dasher. Dasher's the other splashable target. There's like, I guess technically you could also throw, what's the other guy? The guy who can like banish himself to like buff a Destiny hero by like 1,000 till the end of the opponent's turn. So you can make you could play him instead, and it would make your, at least for a turn or 2, make your Enforcer 3,500 on top of the fact that he lowers your opponent's stuff. That actually could come up, you know, Walkover, Dragoon, whatever. It's kind of cool. But anyway, Dasher's main effect, you're not really using his on-field effect. It doesn't really matter. One time only. When you draw a monster card during your draw phase, while this card is in the graveyard, you can reveal it and special summon it. This card must be in the graveyard to activate and resolve this effect. So this one's a little bit less amazing than the Celestial, I'll admit it, but I do think at the end of the day, you still have to consider, depending on the kind of deck you're playing, I think about stuff like Prank Kids, right? Where a lot of times you just have a one card normal summon and hope it goes through. Well, now you can like normal summon a Prank Kid, and if their disruption is in the form of like quick removal, if they want to try and pop that and you have another Prank Kid in hand, you just normal summon the other Prank Kid in hand and go off. So there can be, albeit more specific scenarios where that's going to be good, they can come up and can be the difference between having the ability to like push through later on in a duel and really get ahead of the curve. So not the craziest effect, but it's the only one that really like could come up outside of the guy who buffs Enforcer by 1,000 just for a turn or two, which is whatever. So at the end, and also with this effect, it's a graveyard effect, but he doesn't banish himself to do it. So he's still engraved to be the Destiny Hero to banish with the Celestial to draw 2. So just having that potential to draw 2 is another really solid leg up on the Dragoon package. And I don't know. I think they kind of get close. Like, obviously, that's a check mark there. Obviously, Fusion Destiny is a bigger check mark than Red Eyes Fusion. I think it just comes down to the fact that, like, does your deck need negates? Do you need the Dragoon negates? Do you need the pseudo towersness of Dragoon to lean on to really make your deck work? And if not, I think you might be leaning towards Destroy Phoenix Enforcer. It just fits better in so many more decks. It fits smoother. We've got legit insane bomb extenders. You've got legit crazy upside even after that, not just because he comes back turn after turn, but also because Celestial is getting you a conditional draw 2. Dash is getting you a conditional, just Goblinberg, pull a free card out, pull a free monster out of your hand. There, and that can be the difference between one package being way more worth than the other. So I think personally for me, I'm leaning towards the Destiny Hero package over the Red Eyes package, but of course it's going to depend on what you're playing, what you feel like your deck is missing, and what really covers up those holes better out of the two. So that is going to do it for me here today, guys. Thank you so much for watching. As always, let me know down below your thoughts on this discussion. Which one do you prefer right now? Maybe it's just one of those things where it's going to depend on the metagame. If everybody's counter-siding for Enforcer, maybe you lean on Dragoon a little bit more because it covers a few more of those bases, doesn't lose to as many of the same cards. Or maybe the other way around, you know? Maybe people keep playing Dragoon. Dragoon kind of everybody's counter-siding Dragoon, and maybe it's a little bit easier, a little bit better to play Enforcer instead. I don't know. It's definitely something that would take some thought, definitely take some looking, but definitely know in the comments. Let me know down there what your thoughts are. Which one are you leaning towards at the moment? And I'd love to hear your thoughts. So that's going to do it for here today, guys. Sorry if this got a little long. I really wanted to go in depth because I do think this is a very important factor of the upcoming format. And I wanted to hear your guys' thoughts and also share mine as well. So that's going to do it for here today. Thank you so much for watching. As always, subscribe if you have not yet and you want to see more videos from Jaboy. I'll see you in the next one. Peace.